Adds riot acts to Ruto Group. President unleashes a no-nonsense warning to restive Central MPs, saying they face dire consequences unless they toe the line. You have the story continuing on page 6 of the People Daily this morning. Also, KCA top girl dies in US varsity. That is Nora's Borus, who emerged 4th overall in 2013 exam, found dead at the prestigious Stanford University. Nora Borus. Is there a story there? Let me just try and counter-check what we have on the front page of the Daily Nation. Yeah, that is Nora Chalagat. Maybe that's another name for her as well. And you can follow the story inside page 5 of the People Daily this morning. Let's move on and see what we have also on the front page of the New Times. But I'll be remiss if I don't show you also what we have on the front page of the Business Daily. I don't have my soft copy with me, so I'll show you what we have on the front page of the Business Daily using the hard copy. And this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Business Daily this morning. Kere demands 8.5 billion shillings from sports pacer and Betin. State agency declares Safaricom withholding tax agents for the betting farms. The story continues on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. The Kenya Revenue Authority is demanding 8.59 billion shillings from Safaricom as withholding tax arrears due from two major betting firms, SportPesa and Betin Kenya, in a fresh row, pitting the state agency against the betting industry. You have the story continuing on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. Also, Tycoon's plans put on action to clear KAA parking fees. Tycoon's plans put on auction, I should say, to clear KAA parking fees. This is another story that continues on page 4 of the Business Daily. Banned deformity posing Chinese fertility pill makes secret comeback. A Chinese-made fertility pill that was banned from the Kenyan market 10 years ago due to multiple negative side effects on women and babies is being sold secretly in some parts of the country. The Business Daily has established the once a month pill popular known as Sophia is being sold in herbal clinics behind the back of the sector's regulators, that is the Kenya Pharmacy and Poisons Board. The pill is easy to buy online and from herbal clinics and also from unscrupulous dealers who deliver purchases on order across the country. You can follow the story on page 4 of the Business Daily as well. Be aware of that. Also, foreign direct investments hit record 165 billion shillings. Kenya's foreign direct investment, FDI, rose 27.53% in 2018 to hit a new high of 164.84 billion shillings, driven by increased flows into manufacturing, chemicals, hospitality, and oil and gas. World Investment 2019 also is showing this, and you can follow the story on page 6 of the Business Daily today. Today's digit is 406 million shillings. That is the amount that Tire Farm Samia Africa has written off in its regional subsidiaries, I should say. That story also is tucked away on page 7 of the Business Daily today. Taxman slaps SMEs with 3% turnover tax. Small and medium enterprises will hand the taxman 3% of the turnover after the Treasury moved to review the 15% presumptive tax pegged on country license fees. That story continues on page 19 of the Business Daily this morning. Let's cross over now to Tanzania and see what also we have on the front page of the Citizen. That is in Tanzania, on the front page of the Citizen, this is what we have as a splash. Bashungwa, my priorities at Industry and Trade Ministry. The new man in charge of sensitive ministry says efforts should be redoubled to facilitate businesses and enable Tanzania attain its goal of transforming itself into a semi-industrialized middle-income economy. You have this story continuing on page 2 of the Citizen this morning. And also, how will government finance 2019-2020 budget? That is the big question. Also, they're grappling with their budget as well. But you have all the details tucked away on page 2 of the Citizen in Tanzania. Drought forces Namibia to auction 1,000 wild animals. Drought forces Namibia to auction 1,000 wild animals This story continues on page 2 of The Citizen in Tanzania. Let's see also the Mwananchi, that is the Swahili version of The Citizen. Waziri mpya kuifumua wizara ya biashara ni Bashungwa kupitia upya sera, sheria na utaratibu wa masoko ya mazao. That is a story that continues on page 5 of Mwananchi. You can follow and pick a copy of that as well. Let's see what is happening in Rwanda. RNC operative directives. Okay, let me just repeat that. RNC operative directs terror plots against Rwanda from US. That is a splash today. Top operative of Rwanda National Congress, its chief of intelligence, that is based in the United States, has continued to plot and devise schemes by which to perpetrate terror attacks on Rwanda, targeting top government officials and ordinary members of the public. The Boston-based Jean-Paul Turayushimie, that is pictured below, according to members of the Rwanda diaspora community in Massachusetts area that we talked to, and according to various Facebook posts, is the person in charge of research and information for RNC. This is the New Times in Rwanda. You can follow the story on page 8 of the paper. Also, Kagame hosts USAID administrators, and you can see here the president holding a meeting with the United States Agency for International Development Administrator Mark Green and his delegation at Village Urugwiro. They discuss cooperation between the agency and Rwanda. Follow that story also inside the New Times if you're waking up in Rwanda this morning. The East African this week is holding this particular splash for us. Inward looking, East Africa moves to keep imports out, borrow and spend, but ministers also present expansionary budgets to be financed by heavy borrowing. You have this story continuing on page 4 and 6 of the East African this week. What awaits EAC in DR Congo's entry plan? Most East African community members are said to be enthusiastic. The membership application. Most East African community members are said to be enthusiastic of the membership application. That is a story that also you have the full report on page 3 of the East African this week. Also looking at the sidebar there, biofuel from Cotton West, the solution? That is a question there. It is a cheap and environment-friendly option for farmers. This is inside the Outlook magazine. You can also pull out the particular magazine on page 21. This is where the story is tucked away. Auctions to replace power patches. The move is meant to boost supply-demand balance. Also list or go. Investors told on EA bounces. The trouble is this could encourage capital flight. The story also continues on page 45 of the East African this week. Let's continue and see what we have also inside the other dailies. We can hack back into history and see what we had also on the front page of the Daily Nation. In 1963, this is how it looked, hacking back into history. First girl in space. It says she has a date that is out of this world. The Soviet Union today launched pretty 25-year-old Valentina Tereshkova into orbit around the Earth, and later an East German television commentator said that the two Soviet spaceships now in orbit are scheduled to meet. Well, this is history, and this was way back in 1963. That's how the Daily Nation looked then. And of course, as I always said, the advance of technology has really made a huge change on how the dailies are being printed today. So this was in 1963. Also, you can see gang killed 24 tribesmen. This was a story then. It's saying a gang of 30 raiders armed with rifles believed to be Ethiopian Boran attacked a party of Samburu tribesmen at Marsabit on Saturday and killed 24 of them. A police report disclosed in Nairobi yesterday. Also, new Soviet triumph. Those were the headlines then. Tanganyika invites comments by tourists. That was still also on the front page of the Daily Nation. Oh, it was only going for 30 cents then in 1963. Right, allow me also to just show you what we have also from our archives, and this is way back in 1969. Maybe you can pick out some of the faces there. Maybe I can throw this also to a panelist and tell us, could you tell us, what are you seeing? Some of these faces that are actually on that screen, right? And we have with us Senator Okongo Mogeni. Also, we do have with us Senator Pogisio. Herman Manyora is with us this morning. Also, Alice Wahome and Richard Onyonka as well. Can you see that picture and pick some of the faces there?
That is James Gishuru on the left.
James Gishuru on the left.
He was the Minister for Defense at one time. Next is Thomas Joseph Mboya, a vibrant, intelligent, articulate guy who never became. Next is President.
What do you mean a guy who never became?
Never became president of Kenya.
It was actually in the cards that he should have been the president at some point in this country.
I don't think there's anybody who was most qualified to be president of Kenya. The young guy was clever, he was articulate, he was smart, extremely political.
Right.
Spoke 5-6 languages of this country.
Right. Don't mention all of them. I want Alice also to pick some of them. Yeah. Alice.
I see the Honorable Mwai Kibaki, His Excellency, former President of the Republic of Kenya, in his usual smart...
These guys were really smart then.
Yeah, very smart for that.
Just like Herman Manyora is dressing today, you know, with that sweater.
Apparently, okay, I do recognize James Gishuru and the late Tom Mboya.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I agree with my colleague that we lost a very bright brain there. His Excellency, of course, now is retiring in grace. And really, the country must be missing him, especially at this particular time.
At this particular time.
Yes, his wisdom and the calm
and coolness.
And, you know, basically just a good guy.
Was a good guy.
Was a good guy.
Right.
Then, I'm not sure I can recognize the others.
Yeah, this was happening in London in 1963, yes. So they were meeting also. This was a press briefing.
But it must have been a major meeting to see those three especially.
Thank you.
Sitting in one table must have been a...
Herman Manyora, what was the James Gishuru then, the cabinet minister for defense by then?
Yeah.
At that time must have been, he was something bigger than defense before, I think. Finance?
No.
No.
Yes,
It was finance.
He was the minister for finance, yes, yes.
That was a big man, agile, very active before something happened at some point.
And what was Kibaki then? 1969, if you may recall.
69?
Yes.
He was
an assistant minister.
He was an assistant minister.
Yes.
Okay. He's come from a long way.
He's come a long way.
MP for Makadara, I think.
Yeah, Bahati.
He was an MP for Bahati?
Bahati,
Yeah,
yes.
before some ladies threw a scare into his life.
Then he went back to Othaya.
Who?
Some lady, I think it was Jail Mbogo or something.
Yes, it was Jail Mbogo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some lady?
Yes.
Not some lady.
A lady.
A lady. So that's a bit of bad history. That's how we
a serious lady.
You see, Herman Manyora is saying it very shyly. Why are you greatly shy to actually talk about it? It's history. We learn from history. Yeah?
I think he can tell us more.
Yeah, tell us more about that. Yeah, what was the story? I have never known that story.
I can't remember it well, but there was something. There was also national politics in it.
There was national.
For his survival, he needed to run away to...
Okay, Richard Onyonka.
Yeah, that's very interesting. What actually happened is that Jail Mbogo decided to run in Bahati against then Assistant Minister Mwai Kibaki. And what happened is, in fact, there are some people who will say that she actually defeated him during the KANU nominations. And but somehow, because President Kenyatta then had a very, very high respect for President Mwai Kibaki, and he decided to save him, of which when Kibaki did is 5 years after that, the next decision he made was to go back to Othaya.
Thank you.
And moved out of Nairobi. Because Nairobi was metropolitan, always the voters are looking for something different.
Thank you.
It was unique to see a woman come out so strongly. Yeah.
So women actually were coming out strongly even then.
Yes.
And you've seen the affirmative action along the way also playing a very pivotal role. Are they losing grip over this in this epoch of time? Okongo Mogeni, good morning.
Morning, Debarl.
Yes.
Yeah, morning, Debarl. I think the statement that we are getting is that even before we had affirmative actions, we had women who could take on men. And I think if we had allowed this to grow progressively, we would not have had this debate on affirmative action. You know, in the US, I think the last elections, the women hit the ceiling. We have now clocked 100 women in Congress, and not through affirmative action, but through elective, competitive politics. And I think some of the marginalized groups, you know, like the migrant Somalis, have gotten their way to Congress. So I want to urge Alice Wahome to have the eye on the ball and you know, contest for seats where men are competitors and not to concentrate on women seats. And I think she's one example MP for Kandara. I'm sure she ran against men and beat them and twice, not once. So we should encourage our women, our daughters to run for these elective seats, not to concentrate too much on affirmative action. Yeah.
Right. Samuel Pogisio.
Yes, thank you and good morning. I was actually looking at
The picture.
picture of the nationalists of the time and the guys who really brought independence to Kenya, their struggle. I was just going to remark that knowing that Mwai Kibaki had just come back from the university, from Makerere University, and was very useful to the party. He had to be kept busy here in Nairobi. But when he moved to Othaya, you know, remarkably, he never left that seat for all the years he's there. I mean, that's remarkable. I mean, that the people of Othaya kept him for all those years. I think voters should sometimes keep people a little longer for them to grow into something. And to see he grew to be minister. If he had been thrown out to be a president, if he had been thrown out even for one time, he probably wouldn't have come
So
back.
he was actually on the winning trot along the way. But there was a spell of time that we didn't see Kibaki when he was with the DP for a short while, and it seemed that he was struggling politically, you know, to come back.
There was a time which we must remember when I think there was an attempt, Kanu style, to rig him out.
Yeah.
That attempt was not successful. But what I remember most is what he said, that even rigging requires some intelligence.
Yeah.
That I've remembered for all these years.
Even rigging requires some intelligence.
Yes, yes.
So was it done unintelligently?
Foolishly.
Foolishly.
Yeah, so it backfired.
It backfired on her. Okay.
And also for me, I think the comment, I'll agree with the Honorable Pogisho. What is so amazing about that picture, other than Gishuru at that time, it was about 42. All these Mboya, Kibaki, Ochengo Neko, Ochengo was a bit older, were all the age of 29, 26, 31. They were really young and vibrant. And if you look at how they carried themselves and the dignity within which they carried themselves and the decency in their politics, you can't compare it with now. I know it's very difficult to compare oranges and lemons sometimes.
So are we retrogressing with time?
No,
yeah?
I think for me, it was the level of education.
The level of education.
These were highly, highly educated. I mean, Kiano, the first PhD in Kenya. Mboya didn't go to university, but everybody
Brilliant,
who met
man.
him says he
Brilliant.
was amongst the most brilliant Kenyans whoever. I mean, when he produced the sessional paper number 10 in 1969, everybody was like, what is this guy talking about? And yet that was the blueprint which brought in the district focus for rural development some 20 years later. When you look at Kibaki, Makerere educated, top of his class. I mean, for me, education mattered. It matters more now. And I think the quality and level of our politicians, all of us.
Was it because you're being taught directly by the white man? The Cali Francis that is now normally touted there as a mathematician. We can hear, these people talking, Cali Francis was my teacher.
No, what happens, you see the pyramid in education.
Yes.
When, you know, increasingly we are widening. So when education becomes egalitarian, when many people then have access to education, certainly some aspects of quality are compromised. Then there were just a few people going up to university level, just a handful of people. And therefore, by sheer numbers, then the quality, of course, correspondingly must be high. Yeah.
And of course, the air flight as well.
I wanted to say that I think they were picked or identified even maybe possibly also by the, the white man. But of course, in their regions, you can agree that they could have been the shining stars, and therefore the quality of and the caliber of the people that we got. However, of course, they had another unique, I think, experience that they were fighting. The clamor for the, independence for the country was fairly new and strong, and the spirit was obviously the solidifying factor, I believe, and therefore issues like ethnicity, I think they were fighting a different war. Yes, and therefore that made them stay together, and so the ethnic barriers were actually a unifying factor rather than a dividing factor.
Dividing factor.
Yeah.
Right, thank you.
And there, I was going to just add what Her Excellency has said. This
I don't
group,
know where that is going to.
as an MP, you are entitled to that. You are entitled to that word. The Debarl, these individuals, the weight on them was so much. If they had to fail, they were always worried about our country. They were always about our nationalism. They were always worried about how are we going to push the country, which direction are we going to go. And I think for me, the load on them was so heavy that they actually had to behave well and deliver.
Right. Yes. Of course, there you can see from that picture, James Gishuru was addressing, of course, the press in London in 1969 with Cabinet Minister Tom Mboya and Mwai Kibaki. Right. Let's just roll back now to this current epic of time where President Uhuru Kenyatta, in a raw expression of anger, has once again hit out at politicians, especially those from his central Kenya backyard, engaged in 2022 election campaign, saying he will not sit by as they undermined his leadership. In what appeared to be a thinly veiled attack on leaders allied to Deputy President William Ruto, and which he delivered in his native Kikuyu language, Kenyatta affirmed he was still firmly in control of the presidency. NTV's political affairs reporter Kennedy Muriithi was at the meeting and reports that the daggers have been drawn amid rising tensions and apparent cracks within the ruling party, with the president's supporters and those of his deputy pulling in different directions.
President Uhuru Kenyatta's raw anger manifested today at the annual Akorino meeting at the Kasarani Gymnasium. In an unerring dress down to MPs from his Mount Kenya backyard, the president was reading the Riot Act to politicians who he accuses of abdicating their responsibilities to the people. President Kenyatta, who was the chief guest at the event and who spoke in his native Kikuyu language, said some politicians from the region had chosen 2022 politics instead of heeding to his calls to shun politics.
No more than a guganadalia na ruga ito, na no go the oroka guito na ne guirado. Mekoreno to dhurete toreta siasa, matigecirie nie ndikihe kiao. Matigecirie nie ndikihe netoigua na matikodogamia barabara ria ndithondekeire iria ndirenda gukinya na kuria ndirenda gutwara andu aitu na kuria ndirenda kumakinyia.
President Kenyatta, who has been quiet for some time as his deputy made inroads in the Mount Kenya region and won support from a handful of politicians and residents from the region, had some choice words for the politicians, whom he described as being driven by selfish motives in their engagement in constant politicking. Kenyatta says the same politicians hitting at him in their weekend political meetings, dubbed developmental tours, used his name to win the positions they now hold. He said he will not hesitate to bring them down, as he still was the region's supremo. President Kenyatta now wants them to go back to their core mandate, that of working for the people, using the National Government Constituency Development Fund, instead of engaging in endless political rhetoric in the company of Deputy President William Ruto.
Mundu agikorwo we mheshimiwa coka gicagi gwaku wake cukuru wikirira andu thitima na mbeca irio hetwo tiga guku guthiuruka ugitwiraga uria ukaneneha gutire kundu ugathie utari na andu aya.
He once again affirmed his presidency, insisting anybody who thought otherwise was in for a rude shock.
No mwere umere wa Jomo no werugamirire na ni arugamirire bururi na gutira kindu gia kumakia mundu.
DP Ruto sat pretty as the president vented out his anger to politicians allied to him. Occasionally, he got translations from some who sat next to him. When it was time for Ruto to speak, he praised the president, saying he would work closely with him to deliver on their manifesto.
Wewe ulinichagua nikawa naibu yako. Mimi, Mheshimiwa Rais, I want to say I thank you very much for making me the person that I am today.
Na kama tutaenda kwa mambo ya referendum, mimi nataka rais, na hiyo ni opinion yangu, mimi naomba rais kwa ile referendum kama ni ya ukweli, yeye bado ni kijana, ni miaka 56, ajiuzulu akiwa na miaka 60. Tuongezee rais mmoja nyingine, Kenya iende mbele.
According to some politicians allied to President Uhuru Kenyatta, they do believe that these are the first steps he is making in an effort to consolidate the Mount Kenya bloc that has for some time now been considered as politically fatherless. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV at the Kasarani Gymnasium in Nairobi County.
And for the longest time, we had the president Milimath about, of course, what is the political tone and tenor in the country. But now he's coming out fulminating with anger. And we wonder, why is the president really blowing his gasket? Is there something simmering, of course, underneath as far as the Jubilee government is concerned as well? You saw him there. And of course, some of the pronouncements and words that were tripping off his tongue, really astounding, right? Like a hair coming, of course, from the president, and of course, Mikora as well. This is thugs. I just want to throw it to our panelists this morning. I don't know if we can also begin with Haman Manyora to just give us a perspective of this. Now, looking at the president, the political turn and tenor yesterday, he really blew his gasket.
I think it was long overdue. It was expected that at some point the president was going to do what he has done and say what he has said. I think the fellows in his backyard, Mheshimiwa Alice Wahome and the rest, Ishungwa and Ndindi Nyoro, I think they've been rubbing the president the wrong way. And it was just a matter of time. For me, however, I think what will follow is what now will be the final blow. This was directed against, I think, the DP, but indirectly, by going for his soldiers. I think the next time it will be him directly.
So is this indicative of something simmering underneath?
Yes,
Yes.
You see, my thinking has always been, the problem, the president has had a problem trying to reveal to the country, and particularly, and in a very difficult way, to his deputy, that this is what I have in mind for 2022. It's been very difficult for him. But I think time is now right, if you ask me. And this is just an indicator that very soon, and sooner than later, he's bound to come out openly, and we would know what he means by the handshake.
All right.
It's been difficult keeping it.
Right.
Yeah, I sympathize with him.
Alice, are you one of the thugs that the president is talking about? Maybe we can begin on that note, maybe to clarify. Because of course, truly you're not Akehe.
You know, Akehe is supposed to kind of depict, in Kikuyu customary law, a man becomes an adult after going the usual traditional rite of circumcision. And it is from then on, you are initiated slowly, gradually into a man. So that anything is expected from Akehe. And, you can't take Akehe seriously. And it's allowed because, he's growing. But when you want to call an adult, then Akehe, then it means it is despicable, it is it's a ridicule, it is, you are certainly of no standing in the society. And therefore the word would cut across any other person who is an elder. If you are, of course for women, there was another word which I I really rather not go there, which was the equal of Kihi, you know. But let me say this. It is unfortunate that His Excellency the President would stand in a podium, a religious podium, and come out with such deep sentiments and words directed at his own community. Because that was actually meant largely to the people who understands the language he was speaking. He was not addressing the nation. He was addressing Mount Kenya. And you see, so far, you know, we are elected leaders, and we have an equal platform. It is true we are elected in the Jubilee Party. I think it could be only 1 or 2 people not elected in the Jubilee Party. But that does not give His Excellency the right to actually ridicule elected leadership, because we represent the people of that region. And you see, of course, that is meant to intimidate those who may be having a different opinion to what he says, that where he says he wants to take the people. You know, I see that as also undermining of democracy. You intimidate the people so that they are scared, you have the vote behind you, so you think, but that's not entirely true. I personally, I don't think I'm a beneficiary of any individual. Yes, I'm happy that I got the ticket, but it was fighting for your vote like everybody wanted the ticket. So for me to reach a point where, and that could be for everybody else, especially when even this time that I was defending, every member of parliament who was elected was actually literally, you know, scampering every corner to pick your vote. So you have a right to express your opinion. You have also a right to give the people who elected you a direction, and that direction necessarily does not have to conform with the thoughts of any other individual, including the presidency. You know, there is also an indication there that we should stop politicking. That is deep politics by His Excellency the President. And of course, Manyora here is saying it has been coming. We as a region, representing Mount Kenya, have not had any sitting with His Excellency, because this is meant for us, so that we are told this is the direction. We're supposed to guess.
The PG?
The PG cannot be a PG. You know, you can maybe compact or core an entire PG, because PG means everybody within Jubilee.
Yes.
But also, in terms of regions, there are regions that have been visiting His Excellency the President from other regions. But the Mount Kenya region, as a region, have not had any platform, any sitting, so that we can now be given these names that you are giving us. You know, rebels. You know, this agenda is supposed to ridicule the members of that community who stood firm with His Excellency the President. Look, everybody is supposed to be scared. And I think my colleagues here are worried about me. Genuinely, there is now nothing left. We are supposed to be worried. We are supposed to run helter-skelter.
All right.
I don't think, personally, I take that, you know, kindly, and there will be responses, different responses, because now is, you know, you actually check and look at your back.
You're a bit afraid. So, yeah.
No, well, you should be afraid. You should be afraid.
All right. Pogisio maybe is another warrior that can help you. We don't know which other side.
No, I think. Let me also, as I sympathize with Alice and others, it's not really bad sympathy. It's just that
we don't need sympathy.
Actually,
that indicates a person who is angry, and that's not how you control the people. You kind of have a conversation.
Let me join.
Let's from
let me join the people in confirming that that was one of the moments that you'd see Uhuru really angry. And if you're angry, sometimes it's better to veil that in your own language, because English would probably have been extreme.
Fail you.
so he went into the language, and the reason why he spoke to that particular community is true, that they have a good number of these people, of course Alice included, that have continuously irritated the president in a way. And even if he wanted to deal with his own folk, the people from his backyard, I think also that the team that is known as Tanga Tanga has continuously politicked in churches and so on. And in that regard spoke things that would definitely irritate. And I agree that it was just about time the president would come out to make clear that he is still the party leader. He's the party leader of that party. And in any case, by the way, what he said was correct. I mean, you can't win without your party and party leader. There's a lot of support that you get from your party. There's a lot of financial support that you get from the party. There's a lot of all the things that you get from the party when you're campaigning, but even just to get the ticket from the party. And so it's very important for people to respect their party leader. And at this point, if you listen back to each of these team members who have been speaking, especially from the Mount Kenya region, speaking about the president, some of them have actually been insulting the president. And I think that's also not very fair. You know, you grow to a point where you think, because the president has not said anything, then you start raising up. And I think I also need to actually say that sometimes we make a mistake when we try to raise up a president when the president is still sitting, and almost recognize another president when the president is still sitting. And sometimes it is, and I like the way that William Ruto now responds yesterday. Because yesterday he says, you made me who I am. And I think this should have been the attitude rather than the other way around. And so I just hope that from now on, things will be straightened in that party. And the president will be the president.
Okay. Kongo Bogini.
Yeah, Debarl, I think you can't blame the president because it was just a matter of time. I think we have seen a lot of provocation directed towards the president. And he has also had very uncomfortable moments in the presence of his DP. You remember what happened in Kasarani during the National Prayer Day, where he was told by his assistant that you started wearing shoes when you were still a toddler. Me, I was walking barefoot, and now you can see we are sitting at the podium together. That was a very, very uncomfortable, statement directed at the president. And you could see, even when he stood up, he really tried to restrain himself. So this push has really been coming. It's really been provoked. And I think yesterday he took the opportunity to really read the Riot Act. And I think this is a defining moment. Going forward, if the DP doesn't learn that for now the person who is occupying the seat of power is President President Uhuru Muigai, he's going to face very interesting times ahead. And I think if you saw what the president was telling his people, he was reminding them that he, as the president, his wish, and that has been his agenda with the handshake team, is that he wants peace. He wants people from his region to carry on trade, farming in any part of this country. Because there has been this statement that unless a particular person becomes president, then the safety of people from Mount Kenya may be at risk. But yesterday was reminding them that as long as he's president, there is nobody who should feel scared. And he said, even for him as a president, nobody can scare him. You know, I was trying to interpret the statement in Kikisi, when he tells you, I'm not KA. That's really deep. And I think he's reminding his people from Central that he's not a lame duck president. I think the message that has been going out from the DP is that it's me who made you. It's not the other way around. And I think you saw a humble
subdued
William
DP.
Subdued, coming out and say, I thank you, you made me what I am. I mean, I'm sure nobody expected that, because the message that has been going around with this Tanga Tanga team is that, in fact, Uhuru, you are us. It's us who made you, not the other way around. And I think, let me tell you, Debarl, if our Ruto, he should reflect. I think at times they say pride comes before a fall. I think if he wants to ascend to presidency in a very non-friction manner, let him respect the person occupying the seat of presidency for now. which is
But
Uhuru
who is
Muigai
saying that
Kenyatta.
he's not been
Let him
respected?
rally behind the agenda of the president. You know, for now the president is saying, I want to see a united Kenya. Then there's this thing called corruption, which is troubling us in all sectors. The president is saying, I want you to assist me in fighting corruption. And that resonates with all of us. Everybody in this country knows that corruption is what is stalling our development. And when the president telling you, rally behind me, forget about this politicking for now. I mean, there will be time for politics. I mean, really, if our DP, I will go back and reflect and go slowly on this thing.
In terms of election.
Even for members of parliament, the president is reminding them that, look, you are a very privileged members of society. You have Constituency Development Fund. You should go back to the people and tell them how you're utilizing this fund instead of following somebody across the country.
Thank you, thank you. Let's hear from Haman before we take a short break as well. Now, is the root of factor also dividing Mount Kenya, as we can clearly see?
You know, there are two ways of looking at it. On the surface, yes, indeed, because you can see Alice Ohome and the way she speaks and the rest of those people in that brigade definitely are not reading from the same script with the president. So there are a number of leaders. And let me tell you, I'm saying for now, and on the surface of it, I have relatives in the Mount Kenya region. You know, lawyers, they are all over the place. On the ground, Alice has more support than the anti-Ruto group. There are more of these people really. So there are people who support the president, whatever secret he has, and there are those who are for Ruto. For now, those who are for Ruto are more. And the leaders, elected leaders are more. So the region is definitely divided. But what I know, the way I know certain people in this country, especially where Alice comes from, unless they will change this time round, I'm telling you, yesterday ilikuwa kionjo tu. I've always said this even in public. The day kijana ya Jomo Kenyatta ataamuka na akohoe kidogo, watu wataingia chini ya kitanda. And we have heard Alice saying that they have to be scared. Na hii ni kionjo tu. So I know at some point.
Should we be scared?
No, you shouldn't be.
Under the bed.
I'm saying you shouldn't
be. What kind
be.
of democracy is that? I think that is very unfortunate.
I'm saying you
coming
shouldn't.
from Manyoraba.
I'm saying you shouldn't.
Grow democracy.
I pray it doesn't happen,
You
and it
pray,
shouldn't.
yes, let's
But
pray it doesn't
I'm
happen.
afraid that will be the way things should go. Knowing Mount Kenya, the day they will say, we are facing Mount Kenya, my friend, you will face Mount Kenya. They are not like the rest of this community. They are like Luos. If you think you can go against Raila, for now, my friend,
joking.
Your goose is cooked. So if you are in Mount Kenya and you are a Shungwa and you are Ndini Nyoro, and my sister here, who I like so much, my friend, when the whistle will blow, face Mount Kenya, my friend, you'll face Mount Kenya.
Let's take a short break on that note. When we circle back, of course, we continue with that, and we see, are they also looking for a leader within Mount Kenya? We've had also different quarters of Mount Kenya saying that maybe we should have a Limuru too and try and get our leader, right? When they actually have these particular pronouncements, when we have a sitting president also, how does it portend also with the president as well? Maybe that's why he's blowing a gasket. We'll take that also. A keen look on it on the other side of a break. back. You're watching AM Live. This is A Point. We continue with our discussion, of course, looking at the reaction of the president yesterday and, of course, gauging the political tone and tenor of the country. And we have our panelists, and we continue the conversation with them as well. Before we took a short break, we were with you, Herman Manyora. Yes. So your final remarks on that as well. And we look at also another bigger picture that, yes, it seems also Uhuru has been pushed to the wall because some quarters also of Mount Kenya are saying, why can't we have a Limuru too? That we don't have a stabilizing figure for Mount Kenya right now as far as leadership is concerned. I think this is what now is making all these simmering sentiments really come to the fore right now.
It must be Limuru 3 because Limuru 1 was the one that jettisoned Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. And then Limuru 2 was the one where, with the staff minister, Michuki, said, if you want to talk to us through Uhuru Kenyatta.
Was there a
Limuru 3? Yes.
With that,
Limuru 3 now
yes,
will whip Alice into shape. They will just say, this is where we are going. We are all facing Mount Kenya. And ladies and gentlemen, chapter closed, no debate, twende bere. Yeah, so that's how it will be.
But Limuru too, I think with Mishuki, that was just a broadside declaration that was made. Yeah, it was not really a consensus that they had a meeting.
But you don't expect them, to have a very formal meeting.
There was a meeting. Yeah.
It can't be a formal meeting in a manner in which we had Limuru 1, if you wish, because times have changed. You have to do it differently. There can't be odd things like they were in 69 and 75 after Boya's death and after James' death. You can't have those kind of things because this is the 21st century. This is 2019. But they will be replicated in different ways, in subtle manners. So much as I may sympathize with this Alice and the other team, I know for sure what happened in 69 and 75 and thereabout will be played but in a modern way. So that's why I'm saying this is just Kionjo, Nanebado, as people would say. Because once they decide, the community, the deep Kikuyu state decide that this is the direction we are taking. Unfortunately, this is Kenya, and it happens in many parts of the world, and at state level, okay? But this is at community level. So the Mount Kenya community happens to be a community that takes things very seriously. They take leadership more serious than any other community in this country. For them, leadership is a matter of life and death. It's not like Luyas and Luos. That's why it's not easy for these other people to be president. For Kikuyus and these Mount Kenya fellows, leadership is a matter of life and death. They approach it with a seriousness that ensures they have what they want. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
And therefore, when that time comes, unfortunately for these gentlemen, I wish it was different, but unfortunately, when that time comes, I've said, the kind of heat that will be generated and directed at them, they will all melt.
They'll all melt.
They'll melt.
And of course, they've seen heat. Some of them, someone was mentioning that some of them were meant to kneel down and face Mount Kenya.
Yes.
Yeah, you can actually call some of the legislators that were meant to kneel and face Mount Kenya.
Yes.
So is it the likely scenario that is going to be repeated here? Of course.
You know, Debarl.
Debarl, I've not spoken for an hour.
You've not spoken for an hour. No,
it's like you don't want me to be here.
Okay, let's go to Richard, then we'll come to you, Alice.
Okay.
Yeah,
Debarl,
Richard.
Debarl, allow me, please. I was feeling like you're uncomfortable with me or something, but I understand. I understand.
Why am I uncomfortable with you now?
Because I want to tell you this. In Kenyan politics and all politics, history always repeats itself. Go to Jomo Kenyatta's speech in Kisumu in 1970.
Yes.
Same statement that Uhuru made yesterday. The difference is this. Then the protagonist was supposed to have been Mboya. The antagonist was actually Jaramogi. Look at what is happening right now. According to me, the protagonist is actually William Ruto. The antagonist is actually Raila. In terms of interpreting what exactly is going on, at that time, the speech that Kenyatta was giving, he was saying, Jaramogi, stop looking at me as a kehe. The reason is that I am actually a ruthless and a very crazy man. It is just that I understand that I need to wait and I need to be more kind and more candid and reasonable about where the country is going. Because at that time, you know the issues which had born, because Mboya had died, and therefore there was a direction which And there were issues about, in fact, at that time, Jaramogi had said certain things about what Kenyatta had did or not done. Number two, to me, I listened to Madam Ali speak. We are politicians. And at times you shut up and people comment. Even when we are looking for votes in our constituencies, my opponents would say, oh, this man is a thief. He has done this and that. In fact, this man is useless. We actually don't want him. Even after all, he stole the elections in the last elections, whether you did or not. And it goes on until after about 6 months or 1 year. At some point, actually, you stand up. And this happens in Kisii. And yesterday, I saw Uhuru speaking as a Kisii man. And you stand up and say, let me tell you, I am not what you think I am. I'm made of metal. I can push you guys to a certain level. The reason is very simple, Debarl. Number one, Uhuru has come up and said, yes, we've been having issues in this country. And those issues have been created because of electoral injustices which have taken place in this country. Because we have a system which basically gives the winner take it all. We have a country which, whether you like it or not, every 5 years we're going to kill each other. I'm trying to fix that. And how do you fix that? Let us reduce the noise. Let us bring Raila on board. After all, he has half the country. Let us bring William if that is the case. Let us try and come in as a polygamous family and work together as a team where we are going to agree. How do you fix the country so that we don't go back where we have been? Point number one. Point number two, this country has issues. Uhuru knows. We have lost close to 6 trillion shillings to corruption. We know. We are broke. The country cannot move. What has happened? Every time people are busy running around. Oh, you know, we are going to have electricity. We'll bring you roads here. In fact, we now need water. Well, the president is saying, can we shut up and have sober minds and sit down to discuss and engage ourselves as leadership so that we make a decision where our country is going? And the truth is, like my brothers are saying, including Professor Mayora, the leadership of Central doesn't listen to Uhuru. They see Raila as the enemy. They think that if today Raila disappeared from the Kenyan political matrix, then the country will be okay, then William Ruto will become president, then there will be no problems in Kenya. And what we are saying is that's nonsense. This country has more serious problems. This country needs Uhuru to be more angry than he was yesterday. Uhuru needs to wake up. Yesterday he woke up. That's what nobody will tell you here. We are saying, and Madam Alice, the leadership of Central needs to understand that Kenyans know that what Uhuru is doing for some of us is good, because every time elections happen, it is Kikuyus and Kisis who are beaten up. And we need to look at that as an issue. Uhuru spoke about every child from the Kikuyu community, every parent should run his business, run his farm, and nobody threatens him. What was he talking about? He's not talking about Keheism. He was saying we must stop this nonsense where Kenyans kill each other every 5 years. What else did Uhuru say? Every year. But we are here, Professor Manyora. We always hear it. Oh, in fact, Uhuru was not even there. It is so and so who are campaigning. They are the ones who actually deliver the vote.
All right, okay. But you also, Richard Onyonka, you are on his camp as well, right?
But I'm not.
I am the one. That is Uhuru is talking about. Yeah?
I went to his house and told him 3 things. I told him, DP, stop talking about Raila. You are a good leader. You're qualified. You are educated. Talk about yourself. Raila is not your problem. Number 2, stop talking against Uhuru. Uhuru, you don't do it directly, but your boys are all over the place. Look at what they have posted today on Facebook. Lastly, I told him, if the president tells you slow down, you slow down, brother. That's where you're going. He never listens. That's why I left him.
That's why you left him?
Yes,
right.
I've said it in public.
Alice, maybe you also need to make a visit.
A visit to where? You see Onyonka has confessed that he was actually supporting the DP. But for some reason, which maybe he will not speak here, they disagreed. They disagreed.
3 things.
No, we didn't disagree.
Let me talk.
He doesn't
Can
listen.
I speak? Onyonka, you have said very many things.
He knows
First
everything.
and foremost, our region will not be intimidated into silence or into one direction because somebody, when they lose vote or when the vote is stolen for that matter, then it becomes, we become the subject. We become the victim. Look, every person that I know in the region was rallied behind Uhuru to go and put a vote. And there were promises and there were expectations and interest. Politics is about interest. If the region is feeling that their interests are not being taken care of, if now the region is being intimidated into a corner so that we can accommodate people who then these people will now become happy so that we can do business in maybe in Kisumu, in Eldoret, in Mombasa, then that is the wrong politics. You know, Debarl, we have been told that Raila Odinga, and it is true, had half of the country. But in other democracies that are civilized and progressed, when people lose elections, even sometimes they don't even get the popular vote, they accept. Because so far, the way our vote is, the way our country is, you know, our democracy and our constitution says that when you win, the vote will be counted and the numbers will matter. So if issues of electoral injustice have occurred, should then the Kikuyu or the region that we come from be told, you are actually the people who did that? Who was in the Electoral Commission? Are you trying to say that the president is agreeing that there was a problem? Or that because all these people who died, it is us who should be accepting the blame? I don't think the region is happy purely because even what is happening in terms of economic problems here, they cannot do their business. In Gikomba, it's the largest community are suffering. When you go to Mombasa, their merchandises are held. When you go to kiosks, when you go to houses are being demolished. Coffee has not, been regenerated. And they are just feeling disenfranchised. They put the vote where it belongs, as far as they are concerned.
But what is the main issue? Is it the
when you now
accessibility?
want
No,
to
just a
say
moment.
that the DP is disrespecting the president, which platform has he ever stood? And is he supposed to sit pretty and wait for a vote to be given to him? Look, when did Raila stop politicking? When did Raila stop doing politics?
This is so important.
And even now, the Kiereke team is all over everywhere, and nobody points at that. The division in this country is deeper than it was before the hardship.
We'll come to you on your
Believe me, and the way I'm speaking is what people in the region are speaking. Okay, the president is a uniting factor, but what has happened to his party? What is happening? Why can't the riot act be called at party level instead of platforms like this that dehumanizes the people who woke up to vote?
All right. Let's hear from Pogisio.
Yes, thank you. It looks like Uhuru Kenyatta set the tone for how you speak this morning.
Uhuru Kenyatta has actually opened up, the Pandora's box. This has been, simmering within.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
I'm just saying your panel this morning is angry, and just like Uhuru Kenyatta has been angry, and I don't think we need to be angry to talk about anger. Well, what I'm saying basically is that we need to be ourselves of the understanding. This is the first time that Uhuru has spoken as such. And as we have explained, I don't think there is any two ways of understanding this. The man has been provoked, and the man has a direction that he wants to take the country. Now, Alice is defending a region. I mean, we are not talking about a region. You can defend your region, do what you want to do regionally, but if it affects the nation, if it's going to affect the nation, the total peace in the nation, and the fact that now the country is trying to come together, it's going to be a very tough future for us. If everybody just talked about what happens in their backyard, it is not. Uhuru, although he was addressing in his language, was actually addressing the nation. Who doesn't know that he was addressing the nation? By saying that, the nation now feels a bit of hope. By being angry, actually, the nation, because the nation had been left to think.
So that's the tone. Everybody should speak to the region. The tone.
It's not about the region anymore, and I think that you should focus on your region. But I think the president actually transcended the region. He may have spoken in a regional language, but everybody was translated for, and we understood what he meant. And I just think that we should stop. How come none of us is talking about the fight against corruption? How come every week that we go around talking, nobody wants to help fight the corruption? How come it is all about tokenism? How come it's about thinking that that develops a country? Mm-hmm. I mean, if every week it's about trying to, very thinly veil the insults against the president without actually talking like you're saying. You know, Alice, we also have a thought that the team that goes every weekend, I don't know whether it's Keleweke or Tanga Tanga, but the fact that we must respect also the presidency, and being the party leader, you know, like I said, you know, we need to be angry not at the people, but at the situation in the country. You know, you spoke about Kigomba, all this. We're speaking about a country. Mm-hmm. You know, these things that affect, you know, coffee. Some of this coffee you're cutting yourselves to create real estate. But you know, I'm just saying, basically, we need to think about the whole country. Have you thought about the corners in this country, where every weekend all we do is come and say, I'm giving you 3 million here, 2 million here, and as though that will develop the country. Let's talk about this country like we all care about tomorrow, not about our own seats and about you know, my little corner. So why don't we all support the president and say we want an all-inclusive leadership in the country and come together and say, let's try a new thing in Kenya, because every 5 years we're going to do the same thing that we do. So I just want us to begin to slow down on focusing on how a president relates to your corner. See how a president relates to the entire country. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right. Okongo Mogini.
I think, Debarl, you know, for the first time, and I want to speak to my good friend Alice, for the first time, you have Raila Odinga coming out and telling the president, I want to embrace and accept that you are the president of the Republic of Kenya, and that we need to work together till the next elections in 2022. But you still find people in central Kenya who still want to look at Raila as a problem. Now, what do you want Raila Odinga to do? Raila Odinga has come to the table and said, I'm rallying behind the president on the agenda of fighting corruption, the agenda of unifying the nation, the agenda of ensuring that we build a united Kenya. But this becomes a very unsettling point for the Ruto camp. I mean, really, if we were fair, Debarl, if you look at other jurisdictions, if you look at the Americans, Obama had a vice president called Joe Biden. Joe Biden rallied behind Obama. After 8 years, he actually said, I'm not vying. It's now that I'm hearing that Joe Biden wants to make an attempt to be the president of the United States of America. If we have to have decent politics, let the DP calm down, let him reduce this tanga-tanga business of his, rally behind, because what is actually causing a lot of anger from the president is that they are not reading from the same page with his DP. Whereas he's trying to push forward the agenda of fighting corruption, the Tanga-Tanga team is pushing the agenda of we don't want to identify with this issue of corruption, uniting the country. They're actually creating a parallel team. They're not moving on the same page with the president. And I think, Debarl, what I'm seeing going forward is that the DP wants to come out as a very defiant DP. And the president is, I think, going forward, we are going to see a more ruthless president. And I think for the people from Mount Kenya, you are the ones who gave us Uhuru Kenyatta as our president of this republic. The president is telling you, come rally behind me as I unite the country. From 2022, we all expected to see elections that will be issue-based. We want to see who among the candidates that will come out will assure us that we will not have corruption going forward, that our politics will not be defined by ethnicity, that it will not be about region. It's about the agenda that you put on the table. And I think, Debarl, there comes a time when a country opens a new page. If DP does not want to move along with the president, then I think there is no business the president accommodating him going forward.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
right, Hamad.
Let's constitution.
All right,
what do
just
you
a
mean?
moment.
I mean,
All right, we'll come to you, Alice.
You know, but sure, they don't let some statements like this. The deputy president is elected by under the constitution.
Under the constitution, but the flipping over maybe the channels over the weekend, you'll always feel or tend to have a feeling. Maybe other viewers. Just a moment, Alice. It is on Haman. We'll come to you,
The
Alice.
handshake was about removing the DP and placing Raila Odinga in the place of
how
DP.
is it? How is it? She will clarify. She will clarify. No, just a moment. Just a moment, Okongo. Let's hear from just a moment, Okongo. Let's hear from Haman. No, I was saying, flipping over the weekend maybe and trying to actually look at the channels and see the news. Actually, within Jubilee, party, you will see like maybe they've taken to be now the opposition, so to speak? Because it is actually looking like we have an opposition within the executive, which is the team tanga-tanga of the president,
within
or the
party.
deputy
Because
president.
the agenda of
So,
handshake has not
it
been
seems
sold
Yes.
to the Jubilee people.
instead, the Jubilee Party of uniting this country is the one which is driving the wedge, and bringing all this political attention within the country right now. Not even ODM as we used to have it. Over the weekend we know the ODM will come and give some babs.
That's a problem.
That is a problem, and this is what I want Haman to tell us. This is a problem,
It's a
isn't it?
problem.
Okay.
Maybe, like you are saying, maybe they say nature was a vacuum. So since Raila has joined Uhuru, there has been a vacuum in terms of opposition. Leadership. And therefore, perhaps the Ruto camp can fill. But I don't think that's the problem. I know where the problem comes from. The problem is from March 9th, 2018, when Uhuru enters into this deal with Raila. And the deal becomes a secret between the two of them.
Yeah.
And therefore, I would understand when Ruto becomes apprehensive. It's natural. It was always clear to Ruto, I think from the word go, that this handshake never meant well for him. I would feel the same.
But is
We
that
are
a
all
good
human
thing?
beings.
Is that a good thing?
And I think he feels, and I think maybe that's the case, that Uhuru and Raila are up to something that is not good for Ruto. So I've also had the feeling that perhaps to end this kind of shenanigans we are witnessing that make the president now talk the way he talked yesterday, and much more is coming, like we say, I've always had the feeling that it would have been good for the president at some point to come out clearly and tell the nation what the handshake is all about, and rope in his DP and tell him, look here, William, you and I have come from a long way. We've been good friends. We are young people. But I have done soul searching, and I have come to the conclusion that if we don't save this country, then history will be very harsh to us. And this is what I intend to do, to address the ills that have bedeviled this country from 1963. And that's why I brought Raila on board. And I think it is painful, but we have, let's play politics in such a way that 2022 is a product of compromise, so that we move together as a country. It may be unfortunate that in that arrangement, you may not be the president.
Oh, you can't say that.
But no, it's possible. People, statesmen have said that before.
Explain.
It's
That
possible.
has not been done.
But in the scheme of things and in the interest of this country, maybe Raila will be president, maybe for 5 years. You are still a young man. Maybe at some point you will fit in this manner. We are expanding the structure of government so that we have prime minister, and let's accommodate all these people. Then we move together as a country. 2027, 2032 is not too long for you, and we will support you. And I think the country will listen to that. Even Ruto may understand. So the problem is keeping it close to the chest and leaving Ruto to guess what is happening. So Ruto has a very clear choice, either to fight it or go along and be consumed. So I think Ruto has chosen to fight.
While he's still under the...
So he has chosen to fight, and in so doing, then he obviously appears to be an opposition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Debarl, I would like to say this. We have history to refer to. The notes exist. What happened between President Mzee Kenyatta and Daniel Arap Moi? I think we have the data, we have the information on what actually transpired. Number two, the BBI agreement which was signed between Raila and the President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, it has a 9-pointer. And I would like to refer my sister Alice that one of the points that they have raised is the historical injustices in terms of the fact that we always had elections which are either not believable, which are never transparent, in fact, one of the issues that has to be done is to make sure that we fix the Independent Electoral Commission, and making sure that when elections take place, people then believe in them. Number three, according to me, and I listened carefully what Madam Alice is saying. She's saying our people in River Road. Actually, what Uhuru is doing is that he is fixing what the problem has been in this country. We just don't pay taxes. We beat the corners. That is why we are not able to generate the revenue. You are saying Uhuru is not able to bring development into our regions, including Central, which needs the funds. And then you are saying, no, let us just allow our traders to bring goods in Mombasa. In fact, we don't even need to inspect them because, after all, our people are really not happy right now. So what we need to do is let carte blanche take place. Yani, let's just run this banana republic the way it has been. As far as I'm concerned, President Uhuru is trying to fix. President Uhuru.
You're getting your
No, the container, finally KPA is making profits because people have started paying taxes to the port and to KRA. Number two, Madam Alice is saying that, oh, you know, people in Central are not happy. Madam Alice, if you want me tomorrow, I can give you the printout. More money has been invested on roads and development infrastructure in Central than any other place in Kenya. I can bring it to you tomorrow. We can sit here and we bring it.
On Monday.
You can challenge me, I bring it here on Monday.
Yes. Okay.
More money has been spent in Central than any other place in Kenya. So this notion that Uhuru, I'm not against, I'm just stating the facts.
So we will get the facts.
I'm not inciting.
Okay, we'll get the facts.
These are the facts.
Just a moment.
I'm in the Parliamentary Budget Committee. These are the facts. So don't tell us that the Central is unhappy, Uhuru has done nothing. Uhuru, look at Kenya Revenue Authority. Who are the members who are there? Members of the Kikuyu community are disproportionately more than any other community. We are not complaining. They are entitled because most of them are qualified. So don't victimize Uhuru by saying he has done nothing for your people and they're the ones who have all the jobs.
All right, Alice, you have your... Alice, it's your time now.
You know, Onyonka, you should next time don't put me next to Onyonka because, you know, he's feeling like I'm the one hosting the court thing here.
Because you say untruths here.
No, they are not untruths.
Next time I'll sit at that corner.
Yes, sit at that corner. Onyonka. By the way, you know, we will not our people will not accept to be insulted after the government has been formed, after they have participated in forming the government and electing the government, and then be insulted when the government is in place by the same people who actually insulted us when we were trying to put the government in place. That speaks to the problem that we have, and that people are dancing to see and listen to those kind of statements. And if that comes like that, then obviously we'll be the subject of ridicule by the entire nation. Yes. So we protest and we reject that kind of handling of the region. And you know, so we are not in the era where people were being intimidated to silence. And if my colleagues here on this table are encouraging a situation where elected leadership should be intimidated into silence, they should actually resign from their positions and bring people who will be able to tell the executive, here, you are wrong, speak to the people, have a discussion, have a conversation, open the handshake so that everybody can understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pogisho, maybe what we're seeing also from what was happening in Kasarani is also what is happening even in status when now members of parliament are called for these meetings as well. Some of them have expressed frustrations that the President Uhuru Kenyatta is actually, you know, talking down on these people, talking condescendingly, calling them names. I don't know. You've been to these particular meetings, and maybe that's why they feel that they're a bit disconnected with the leadership, and that is affecting adversely Jubilee Party.
You know, if it's a universal problem, he's talking to all leaders at that time. And when
I'm talking about the meetings that happen in status. Leaders at
all the leaders from the party. All the Jubilee people, that's not talking about a particular region.
Yes, yes.
And so and I think that's why.
But the question is, the same tone and tenor that he's using here is what actually we have in those meetings?
But Debarl,
does he call
why are
also?
You asking? These records here are very clear. In Mombasa, Debarl, before Joho, it happened. In Karatina, when we were alone. In Kiambu, it happened the same. In State House, it happened the same.
Debarl,
and now here.
All right.
So
Debarl, you have to act as a speaker in this session sometimes.
Okay.
To be able to say order.
Order. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Order. Continue. I have my standing orders here as well.
Exactly.
I'll go through it. Yeah. Continue.
So I'm saying that how come then that particular region is angrier than other regions? Yeah, you know, and I like.
They didn't vote for this.
Order.
You see.
Okay. I'm taking control.
They did. There are many of us who come from the regions.
Some of them.
They are members of Parliament of Jubilee from Kisii.
There are many from all these regions who understand when the president says certain things. But the inclination, which I think the problem is, started just maybe before elections or at election time. the struggle with the people who are pushing for this election of 2022, which has become the whole thing, have an agenda. And the agenda is 2022. And they're not going to listen to anything that seems to derail that agenda. And I think that's where we have a problem. And so they read into a language anything that they want to read. I mean, Uhuru spoke in Mombasa, we all heard him. But they read more than that into what he said because of the 2022 agenda. And I think that's what Uhuru is trying to fight. Stop the thinking of 2022 now. Let's read from the same script. If you feel offended, how come you are the only people who are offended at this particular time? He didn't name anybody. He didn't say anything. He just said leaders. And we all get offended sometimes. But I think the agenda 2022 in the minds of these MPs, including my friend here, is too much that they would read anything. They would think that Uhuru is planning to derail the 2022 agenda. That's basically what's happening.
You need to be a genius. And Debarl, me, I think I will get out of here. Do you need to be a genius?
Oh, because of that you want to get out of here?
No. Alice,
we're finishing. So, out a long time ago.
Let's hear from...
But you need to be a genius to get a translation.
A translation from that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, insults come even in that sense. Because now I don't need to be a genius to understand those things. And that's not important, Alice. And that's why you read too much into these things. You put meaning of 2022 in everything. And I think that is what Uhuru is trying to fight. Saying to his deputy, for example, and by the way, a professor is saying that he should speak to him that way. I'm sure they have spoken like that. I am very sure. Because these two guys actually do speak to each other. They meet, they speak to each other, they go to each other's offices. A very rare thing that you see president going to the other office, the other one comes. Those kind of things, the camaraderie here is very, very interesting.
Right.
But I think that camaraderie, which I think now must be re-evaluated between the president and some of his men, and now women, including Alice, it's become so much that they have now begun to disregard the powers of the presidency. And I think so we need to think through that sometimes we get so close, I can get so close to Mugheni, but in the end I'll have to say, hey, he's senior counsel, okay? But that freedom they're talking about, the democracy you're talking about, comes to a place where you have to say, hey, maybe I've overstepped that democracy.
Right, let's see from Haman, as it is right now, because we can see this is actually simmering deeper and deeper, and it's getting to be a bit ticklish, as we can see also from the women that you saw in Muranga, and were they also in Nyeri? Yeah.
No, they were in Mombasa, Malindi,
in Malindi and where?
And Keno, and Kandara,
and
Maragua.
In Maragua. Yeah, and we saw what really happened as well, as in people are now pushing on both ends, and it's getting to be very emotive, an issue right now that, from our own perspective, we can see it is also adversely affecting, you know, the tension or the peace within the country as well. Are we facing a problem right now as far as this politics of 2022 is concerned? The president is trying to rein in on it, but it seems the train has already left the station.
You see, Debarl is a narrative. There is an agenda, perhaps. And if it is a political agenda, you expect there will be people who will support it and others who will oppose it. That will be normal. However, we are having a unique situation, and this is coming from Mount Kenya region. Because it's natural to swim in a certain direction if you are swimming in a river. And the only people I know of, they are well represented on this table, Pogisho. The only people who can swim against the current are the Pokot. They are some of the most powerful swimmers I can think of. What is happening in central Kenya is that people are trying to swim against the current. And it's quite difficult, you know. And it's causing all these upheavals. Because the way we play our politics in this country is the big communities tend always to go in one direction. And especially the most politicized communities. So we are talking about the Kalenjin, the Kikuyu, and the Luo. They always tend to go in one direction, following a leader. But for the first time now, you know, JM tried it to go against the grain. But he couldn't go far because, again, he was alone. But for the first time, we have a significant number of elected leaders in Mount Kenya who are going against the grain, who want to go to swim against the current.
Which grain? Where is the grain going?
So the grain seems to be going somewhere.
I think you better go find out where the grain is going.
Alice, you know I like you so much. What we have said
I
is
know
this.
that.
You know that.
I know
Thank
that.
you. We have said people are supposed to face Mount Kenya. But there are those of you who are facing another direction.
Mount Kenya has shifted.
And the problem is you are not just two. And this is very important.
The mountain has shifted.
If it was just Alice and maybe Chungwa, it would be nothing. But it's the majority of elected leaders.
We are still facing Mount Kenya.
Those facing Mount
I want
Kenya
to confirm.
are very few.
We are still
Those
facing
who are
Mount
refusing to
Kenya.
face Mount Kenya like Alice are in the majority.
No, we are still
And
facing
what is
Mount
scaring
Kenya.
the leadership, the handshake leadership, the Uhuru Kenyatta and the rest, is that they seem to be resonating well with the ground. You know, this is the truth. The truth is, if it was just Alice and Ichungwa and Dini Nyoro, Uhuru wouldn't be bothered. Uhuru is actually angry and bothered because the truth be told today, as we speak in this studio, the ground is Ruto in Central Kenya. Now, it will have to change. And so the president has a big task. And therefore, you see him getting annoyed because the people who are making it difficult for him are Alice and the rest. And therefore, like I've said, hii ya jana ilikuwa kionjo tu. Because if he must whip you into facing Mount Kenya, a lot more will be done.
Okay, we have Ismail Kaulu saying, one time I remember Herman Manyora said on TV that there'll come a time when President Uhuru will roar. And when he does that, they will tremble with fear. He did it yesterday, and we saw their faces.
Yeah, you see.
You prophesied.
This guy has been...
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Okay. Let's say from Onyonka.
Thank you. I think for me, I want to say this, Debarl. You know, when we're in Parliament there, we meet with our colleagues from Central, and we talk with them. And we understand the issues which they raise frequently. Some of them say President Uhuru has no time for them. He never, like you've had Madam Alice has said, that they've never had a PG since the elections.
But is it that true?
That is true.
That is true.
That is true.
So if they express those frustrations, they are justified, aren't they?
No.
Yeah?
I am just trying to make my argument. Alice, I'm making my argument.
No, come on.
Okay, continue.
Even when that has, I can tell you, even ODM, which I don't belong to, has not had a PG except one. You've never known. I'm actually the deputy party leader of Ford Kenya.
But now you are...
So I wanted to explain this. My Ford Kenya party, where I actually work from, I am very careful to listen to what Wetangula says. As my party leader, I am very cautious in terms of what I disagree with him about, but most of the time I have to agree with him. If there are any major disagreements, I will hold my horses and go internally to either Simiyu Eseli or Chris Wamalwa, who are the officials of the party, and I'll say, what is the position of our party on this matter? What has been going on for me, and this is what my worry is, as a Kenyan, we have challenges in this country. The country is hemorrhaging. We have no money to do anything. We are spending all our resources on the wage bill. Most of the money is being stolen. Uhuru has realized that is the status of our nation. And he's saying, gentlemen, let us sit down and talk what we need to do. And, as I want to mention to my sister Alice, this has been a Jubilee government.
Let us sit
And
down.
the people of Jubilee are busy telling me how they think the deputy president must be president of this country coming the next 5 years. Can you imagine a bank manager who goes and gets a job in a bank and the bank has a debt of 1 trillion. After 5 years, this manager has a debt of 5 trillion and you say promote the manager. These are issues we have to discuss. And what we are saying, William should be given a soft landing. I have said it more than once. The guy is smart, he's gifted, he's talented. He's an asset to this country. But he's now doing what Raila was doing 10 years ago. Being anti-establishment, sending his troops, always screaming. If they are not screaming against the president, they are screaming at the president's mother. If they are not screaming at the president's mother, they are screaming at Raila. If they are not screaming... This country needs to be quiet for even a month so that we can sit and deliberate on the outstanding issues, so that we can say, can we even agree that we are not going to borrow any more money, or if we borrow, where is the money going to go to? So that this country, our poor people are suffering. But what are we doing every day? Oh, kieleweke, tanga, oh,
right.
you know, we need to do this. Hey, Kenyans are tired.
So we need also to get direction Okongo Mogeni, because I wonder, when I look on Sunday as well, I look at the news, I see Commander has become a pastor, because all I can see from those churches is Commander now has the pulpit. We are expecting to see him. You know, he's become an apostle. Yeah.
He's the
Apostle
agent of
Commander.
handshake.
So we want
Agent
to,
of
yeah,
handshake.
on that
But
particular note, yeah, because
I think for Commander, look at, you know, the agenda Commander is selling is the agenda for the president. I think when you see him in charge, he's telling people that we need a united Kenya, we need to rally behind the president to fight corruption. And I will never have a problem with anybody who is pushing forward that agenda. Because Honorable Nyonka has said here repeatedly that the problem that we are facing as a country, and which personally I would like to define the 2022 election, is a leader who has the ability and the passion to fight corruption and have good governance in this country. And I want a leader who also can promise that going forward, we want a united Kenya, where anybody from any of the 42 tribes can have a stab at the presidency, to bring to an end this culture of saying that to win a presidency you need to have an ethnic grouping, then you become a president. That is the leader that we're looking forward to. So if Commander can go around and push forward that agenda, I have no problem with him at all. And my friend Manyora here, there is a time I saw Gideon Moi. He once said that some people, they just hear the musician is testing the guitar.
Tuning.
Just tuning. They enter the dance floor, even before the dance begins. I think it's too early to tell us that for 2022 that Ruto is controlling Central. I think what we are seeing is just the musician is just testing. He's just tuning.
And the people are...
You know, there will be a time when politics, as we have not started discussing politics.
it's a certain way of, or maybe Aman Manyora also is a...
You know, now there is nobody in the field competing against the other. Who has not told the country that because of ABC,
But I've
this...
said, Omogeni,
Yes.
I've said,
So,
when they really
it's
dance...
There's no empirical evidence from what Aman Manyora is saying.
So I think for Ahmad Manyora, this thing of saying that Ruto is controlling
actually.
Central, let's wait. I mean, as I've told you, we are hoping that 2022 will be an issue-based politics. Maybe Uhuru will come forward and tell us, my people, as a country, going forward, we need to entrust the future of this country on somebody who can continue with my agenda of fighting corruption, with my agenda of ensuring that there is good governance, the agenda of ensuring that this country remains united.
All
That's
right.
when we'll know Debarl, who is controlling that voting bloc called Central. But I think for now, if we were fair as leaders, really, let's rally behind. I mean, is Alice Wame saying that he doesn't identify with this agenda of the president, saying he wants to unify this country, he wants to fight corruption? Do these leaders from Central want to tell us that they don't identify with that cause? Because those are good issues that have been put on the table that are transformative, that will change this country.
Okay.
I think what I was
No,
saying...
it's someone then...
Omogeni, what I'm saying is this. When Gideon talks about tuning the guitar and some people are dancing. So I'm saying, yes, the people of Central are dancing to the tune. When it is the tuning, before the really thing starts.
Before you have the
But
rhythm.
I've equally said,
The rhythm bad.
I have equally said, when the time comes to face Mount Kenya, the people will face Mount Kenya. I think I was very, very clear. The problem, however, Debarl, is this. You see, the president is sending a message. But you cannot ignore the role of leaders like Alice in ensuring that that message reaches the people, say, of Mount Kenya. But we are in a situation where, instead of the elected leaders of Central ensuring the president's message reaches the people on the ground, they are deflecting the message. They are distorting the message.
Thank you.
And that's why we are saying the ground...
The issue of the handshake, we'll come to the issue of the handshake, because also this has been raised by Alice. We want to see, has this handshake itself shaken into place, first of all? Because also we hear, and we're given to understand also that some quarters within the handshake are not really happy with the outcome of the handshake. Not even the Tanga, even maybe from you know, the the two gentlemen that we had coming together, Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, as it is right now, because now the outcome of it is not what was so desired as well. So will it hold at the end this particular handshake? Forget about even Deputy President William Ruto, just between Uhuru and Raila Odinga as it is right now. Briefly.
You see, the problem we have already said on this term is that nobody seems to know clearly what is in that envelope. Your Bahasha handshake. We don't know what is in. We are only speculating. So that if what you thought was there doesn't seem to be coming or coming as fast as you thought, there are people, for example, in Raila's corner who thought this was going to bring a coalition government. They have been waiting, and they have been waiting for Godot, like we were told in literature. They have not seen it. So definitely they are disappointed. There are those who have believed. I think Orengo belongs in that category. They believe that the handshake is about Uhuru supporting Raila. Now, as you say, will it disappoint? Yes, indeed it would. If it turns out that the handshake was not about giving somebody political leadership.
Is Raila himself disappointed as it is right now?
He could also be played. This is politics. We see.
So was he played?
Let's face it.
No, just a moment. Was he played?
I can't tell, but what I know is Uhuru is holding a card. Uhuru is either anacheza Ruto or anacheza Raila. There must be somebody Uhuru is chasing.
It's Alice. It's Alice. We've got a few minutes to hear.
Yeah, thank you. You know, Debarl, you are following on the issue of the hardship.
Yes, please.
And my brothers here have made a good attempt, I think. But let me say this about the hardship. While the idea was welcomed by, I believe, majority of Kenyans and even as elected leadership, from 9th of March to date, that package has not been unpackaged. And that's what Manyora is saying. So it has taken too long to package. And in between, people have associated themselves more with the package, have actually excluded expressly on public podiums, excluded, for example, the Deputy President and any other person, and saying this is about Raila and Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, His Excellency the President. So to that extent, then people start suspicions. And if you really are looking for peace, the beginning of that, the first sitting, needs to be extremely well crafted. Because from the idea then to the sitting, then to selling the idea, then forming BBI without any legal backing or any framework to support the BBI, how do you then move forward? Indeed, you hear that there are people who thought that it is about coalition government. How do you have a coalition government without amending the constitution? But there are those in, of course, Raila's camp that thought we are there. In fact, the members of parliament of the ODM, because we see it, like he has said, are saying they are the ones in the government. What do you expect? Yes, they are running the government. They are running the show. They have told us we are in opposition. You know, maybe it's a wishful thinking, but they are behaving like they are in the government. And they also don't want others who feel they are the owners of the government to actually be there. Neither do they want them to speak or even express a different view that is likely to compromise their being in government, so to speak. Now, so they will be very angry to somebody like Alice Wahome, who is saying the handshake now has to be exposed to the public so that we can critique, we can interrogate, we can. But finally, let me say this, Debarl. You know, I may be one person, and it is true, and all Mount Kenya leaders may be small boys and girls in terms of political clout. But we are still facing Mount Kenya. And our people are still facing Mount Kenya. But there's a few people who are facing the lake. And that's where the dichotomy comes from. And it's not bad to face the lake, but face the lake with your entire team so that you can now start saying we are working towards uniting.
Thank you.
But you cannot leave behind the entire brigade, like they have called us, that went into campaign and now come and tell us that who do we think we are? You know, I mean, and let me not repeat, because I'm not supposed to be even responding, and I cannot start to respond to the president. But as an elected leader, I'm going to be faced with questions by my people. What do you think is happening?
Thank you.
But you know, Debarl, this is my last thing.
Yeah, your closing remarks as well, and then we give our headline thoughts.
Because the rubber is hitting the road, and members of parliament don't seem also to understand where this train is going. Clearly they don't, and I'm possibly one of those who don't. But there is very serious movement that is saying after Maraga is the next scene. Malaga, the CJ and the judiciary is the next scene, because if you cannot control parliament and you want a referendum to have positions, and like he has said, put the deputy president should be, I don't know what he has said, but just accommodate him somewhere there. You know, I mean, the point is the court is likely to actually be the next scene where parliament will be sent home because it is not towing the line.
Thank you.
Because
Let's leave it
of
at
the
that.
two-thirds gender rule, and that is the next clashing of.
All right, Pogiso, your headline thoughts.
Thank
Briefly,
you.
30 seconds, 30
No,
seconds.
Thank you. I don't know why you're giving it 30 seconds, but anyway. Truth be told.
Okay, 1 minute.
Headline thoughts.
Truth be told, and I think we have spoken the truth here this morning. Nature bores a vacuum. And when the Alice Wahome team seemed to have left government, another team came and went in. So we are thinking that that's what's happening in Parliament. However, coming to the handshake could only be between Raila and the president. I mean, the handshake is not about the people already in the house. It's about the president and people outside of that house, and that's how it's going to be. So, but now trying to make it look like it should be an inclusion. And then the agenda for the handshake is well known.
Thank you.
I mean, the BBI agenda has 9 points. It has 9 issues, and I think they're all well known.
Thank
so
you.
we should be able to say that let's think nationally.
Thank you.
Let's stop thinking parochially. Let's stop thinking regionally. Let's think nationally for the next.
Thank you, Professor.
The next few months.
All right, let's hear from Congo Mogeni. 30 seconds, we're winding up.
Yeah, I think Debarl, I don't know where this thing of coalition government is coming from. I don't think the handshake was about coalition government. I think we had a very clear agenda, 9 points agenda, and we are waiting a report from the Building Bridges initiative that has been going around the country, receiving views. So I think that the intention of the handshake was to create a united Kenya and unify this country and try to come up with reforms that will make this war against corruption to be successful. I think let's hold our horses. When we get the report in October, we'll see whether the handshake has put some fruits on the table or not.
Thank you. Haman Manyora, your
The president was angry yesterday at the bar, and I think many Kenyans are happy with that, apart from a few pockets who are targeted perhaps. But many Kenyans are happy with the anger, because the people he was angry against are people who are derailing his agenda of uniting this country and so on and so forth. But I wish the president becomes more angry and angry at the thieves who are stealing our money in this country. I wish the president becomes angry and sits with the CJ Maraga and tells him, can you administratively ensure that corruption cases take 6 months and they are finalized so that we jail people? I wish the president becomes angry enough and sacks ministers who are presided over theft in this country.
Thank you, Haman. Lastly, Richard
For me,
Onyonka.
I wouldn't have said it better than Professor Manyora has said it. President Uhuru, your legacy depends on nothing. Just be angry. Your country is broke. People have been stealing money who are in your government. Take them to jail so that Kenyans can know you are serious about what you're talking about. Number 2, President Uhuru should get out of State House and travel the country. People want to see him. He will be shocked what people will tell him.
Right, thank you.
Kenyans are very, very angry, very tired and annoyed.
Right, thank you very much. You've been watching This Is a Point, and of course, those are their points. We really do appreciate your valued company. I want to appreciate Senator Samuel Pogisio from West Pokot. Also, we want to appreciate Congo Mogeni, Senator for Nyamira. We want to appreciate Professor Haman Manyora, who is a lecturer at the University of Nairobi. Also, we want to appreciate as well Richard Onyonka, who's Member of Parliament for Kitutu Churches South, and Alice Wahome, Member of Parliament for Kandara. We want to say thank you for your, I can see a lot of reactions on Twitter. We don't have the time to read out all that, but the conversation is continuing on social media. Thank you also for your reactions. We really do appreciate your valued company again. My name is Debarl. Tuende tukunywe breakfast.